Knee pain. You can't stretch your way out of knee pain, but you can do things to make a big difference. And so if there was one thing that I wished everybody knew about knee pain, it would be what you're going to find in this video. In this video, we're going to go through some postural habits that are going to help support the health of your knees and maybe show you what you might have been doing to create some knee pain. And I'm going to be showing you a really underrated and probably underdone action that will keep your knees so happy, whether you're in a yoga practice, whether you're lifting weights at the gym, doing your favorite activities like hiking, walking, biking. This action is going to make the biggest difference for your knees. So are you ready to get your knees happy and strong and hopefully a little more pain-free? I'm Bree Johnson of Heart and Bones Yoga, and Heart and Bones Yoga is here for you to learn about your body, to move better, to apply these principles into a yoga asana practice. So do the usual things like subscribe, follow, join Heart and Bones online, all the stuff. But most importantly, let's get supporting our knees right now. We're going to start with a posture check, because a lot of times when we stand, how we stand affects the pressure that may be going on to our knees. So the quickest, simplest posture check that we can do is to see where we hold our pelvis in space. So a lot of us are going to have the postural habit of the pelvis shifted forward a bit. I'm going to exaggerate that so you can really see. And so when we see the pelvis shifted forward, we're going to notice that that weight of the body is going to be pressing down and carried through the knees. So your knees are probably going to be doing a lot more work than they want to. So all you got to do is just shift your pelvis back over the heels. And when we shift the hips back, you don't have to go so far back that you fall backwards and you can't stand sturdy and straight. Think about more standing in a way that you can have your pelvis moving back towards the heels, but you're still standing comfortable. That's the first and most important key. Have the pelvis moving back over your heels, which will then move the weight of the body more functionally through the bones. So that's it. That's your posture check. That's the first and really functionally most important step here for your knees. Now, when do you want to do your posture check? When you're brushing your teeth, shift your hips back. When you're standing in line at the grocery store, shift the hips back. When you're standing doing the dishes, don't let your pelvis rest onto the kitchen counter, let your hips come back. And over time, that becomes your new postural habit. And that keeps your knees super happy, because we can do all the stretching, again, we can do all the strengthening in the world, but if we aren't really paying attention to how we're standing most of the time, that's going to affect what's going on with your knees. I said our posture, how we stand, was one of the most important things we can do, but the other most important thing that we can do is this action that I playfully call glutes of greatness. But it's not just about your glutes. This is an action cue that is going to be applied when you're doing a deadlift, if you do a forward bend, whenever you're holding weight and pressure. It is the game changer of movements. And it's, it's kind of a surprise how much it's not taught in the world. So lucky you found this video and you get to learn this amazing action cue. So the key with this action cue is to kick on your posterior chain. That's all these muscles in the back of the body. You want the back side of your body strong and functional to help support the health of your knees. A lot of times we have knee pain because we're not engaging our posterior chain to the way that our knees really want us to. So this is what this action is going to do. So I have a little stool here. You can do this with yoga blocks. You can do this with the seat of a chair. I really recommend, even if you're flexible, that you have something underneath the hands. You're going to have a feeling of resistance, that there's a downward movement and an upward lengthening. And from that action, you're going to feel some kicking on of those beautiful posterior chain muscles. So I'll talk us through that here. With your hands resting onto your support, your feet are going to be about pelvis width apart. Let's start with bending the knees a little bit, and then going back to that postural habit of shifting the hips back. Some of us might notice even that action, the fact that you shifted the hips back, might have taken some pressure off of your knees. So if you immediately found that, Yay, hooray. It's already better. And even if you didn't feel a difference in the knees, it is happening. There is a difference. So that's phase one. Shifting the hips back, feeling that you've got more weight through your heels. You're still pressing your whole foot down, but more weight through the heels. Here's that downward movement. You're pressing the floor away from you. Push, push, push. And at the same time, keep that downward push feeling and lengthen and feel an upward reach through your upper legs without straightening the knees. If you're somebody who's more hypermobile, you might have to work a lot harder to find that engagement. If you have tight hamstrings, you probably found it pretty quickly. Let's do that one more time. I really want to make sure we all have this. Push the floor away from you without straightening the knees. I'm going to give you one more cue to make this make sense in your body. The knee bend that you have, you're going to continue to press the floor away from you with the feet. Feel, so there's that downward movement through the lower leg, lower foot. And then feel like your thigh bones are moving to the wall behind you without necessarily straightening the knees. So downward movement of the feet, pressing down through the floor. Your thigh bones try to move to the wall behind you. So you're feeling, again, down action at the same time sort of as an up back action through the upper body. That might have made sense, but I want to make sure that you understand this so much because it is the game-changing cue for your body and for your knees. So let's try this action cue, apply the same principle in a lunge. You'll bring one foot forward and the other leg back, bend the knee. And then, keeping the knee bent, let's work with that downward action. Push the floor away from you like you're pushing the gas pedal of a car. And then notice that you probably want to lift up with the hips, that you want to straighten up the knee. Resist that. So again, keep the knee bend that you're at. Push the floor away from you. What happens in your leg when you do that? Does the work in the muscles change just by that action of pushing down through the foot, down into the floor? Okay, most of us will probably notice a little bit more engagement or a lot more engagement in the posterior chain. Now let's do it one more time. Adding on that extra little push and pull action. Press down through your foot, feel like you're pushing the floor away from you, and at the same time, see if you feel like you can pull your thigh bone in towards your body while pressing the floor down without changing the angle of your knee. Do we feel, I sure do we feel this a lot more engagement on the glutes? Come out of that. And let's try another variation into like a squat, a little half squat. If you're doing yoga, it's like chair pose. And we're gonna have the feet pelvis width apart, a little bit wider. And I want you to go into a little bit of like a half chair, like you're about to go sit back into a chair, right? Now, most of us, we're going to default to having the toes, more weight in the toes, the knees forward. This puts pressure on the knees. Your knees probably don't love this. So what's our first postural cue? Shift the hips back a little bit more so that you feel more weight over the heels. And then immediately it invites your glutes to the party, your backside. Now push the floor away from you without straightening up from this little squat position, and we're going to stand up slowly while keeping that action going. So press your feet into the floor, push the floor away from you the whole time while you come up. Let's play with that again. Let's make sure we really get it. Shift the hips back, slowly come into that little half squatty hinge bend movement here. Good, we found it. Keep the weight through the whole foot, but especially through your heels. Keep pressing the floor away from you. Slowly come up. Once you have this push-pull, my glutes of greatness that I like to call it, but that posterior chain activation, your knees are going to be so happy. Now, two other things we're going to do for our knees, and they're going to just complete the picture in a really wonderful way. To help your knees, you want to address the things not just behind us like we were doing, but address the areas of the body that are above and below the knees. So the shins, your feet, and then your hip joints. So the next thing we're going to play with is a tibial rotation. I personally love doing it when my knee feels a little bit tweaky. I do the tibial rotation and it sort of eases whatever like sensation I might be feeling in that moment. So here, sitting You can have your foot flexed. I like to think of it as if I had my foot in a ski boot. If you've ever worn a ski boot, they're like a cast for your ankles. Your ankles do not move. They are all stiff. So imagine you've got that ski boot on your foot and on your ankle. And then you're gonna take your hands to your quads, and then you're gonna hold your upper leg, and you are going to start to rotate your shin inwards, rotate your shin outwards. Now, we want to think about that ski boot, because you might be noticing, especially if you've never done this before, you might notice that your foot is doing more rotation than the shin itself. So do not let, your foot is only following the rotation of the shin. Let's try another thing. So if that's not making perfect sense, sometimes it's nice to kind of hug your thigh like so. And then maybe this might help. So you can try this other way of getting into it. Last variation, just in case that's not working. Some of us need a little bit of extra love and support. So what you could do, and I'll just quickly go onto the ground here because it's easier to see. I'm going to take my hands onto my shin. Foot is still in my imaginary ski boot. And then to the right, to the left, internal, external rotation. Keep in mind, my friends, when we are learning something new and moving a part of the body that we don't normally move, it might take a little bit of time to understand this movement. So if you're not getting it right away, that's okay, keep trying. To help our knees is to work above them in hip joints. Now, there are so many things that we can do to support our hip joints. Go ahead and watch the rest of my hip joint videos. We're going to do another just very kind of simple hip mobility work that you can just simply add into your day wherever you are. I want this to be accessible for you. When things are easy, when things are simple, you're going to do them more often, and that's going to help your knees. So we're going to go back to our little stool. If you have the seat of a chair, if you have a lower stool, sometimes the seat of a chair might be too high. My friends, by the way, those of you who still don't love this and your body prefers being in a chair, you can do the same movement in a chair. So you're at the front of a chair and you're going to go like this. Okay, so that's our chair version. If you're doing the standing version, what's the first thing we want to do for our posture? You're right, correct. Shift the hips back. Notice if you've got that tendency, oh, I've got my foot forward, I'm just gonna let my hips shift forward. So shift your hips back, oh, hello, backside. And then you can use the wall for a little bit more support. You can imagine that you still have that ski boot on your ankle. So your ankle's not moving. Now we're going to try to initiate the movement from deep into our hip joint. We're doing internal and external rotation, similar to the tibial rotation we just did. Internal and external. That means your thigh goes in towards your body, your thigh goes out. And you're going to do this without moving your pelvis. Really think about where we add our glute of greatness action cue. You want to have a gentle feeling of pushing your heel into your support, the floor, the stool, and feel from there that there's a little bit of a lengthening back in towards your body of the thigh. Downward movement of the heel. It doesn't have to be crazy intense, but just enough that you're getting a little more activation. And you're probably going to notice then that your hip joint starts to kick on a little bit more. Okay, now that you have these principles in your body, you're going to try this going up the stairs, because many of us probably feel our knee pain when we go up the stairs. Watch this video to learn how to go up the stairs and feel better and apply some of these principles into an everyday stair movement.